I think that for the point of stopping and having everyone take a deep breath, do you think that there will be people who go to jail for contempt of court who just say, I'm not doing this?
Well, let me just read what this lady here in Washington said. And she was offered by the attorney that, Ferguson, I think it was. She said this, she offered to pay a fine of $2,001 and they would dismiss the charge. She said, your offer reveals that you don't really understand me or what this conflict is all about. Stutzman explained, it's about freedom, not money. I certainly don't relish the idea of losing my business, my home, and everything else that your lawsuit threatens to take from my family. But my freedom to honor God and doing what I do best is more important. You chose to attack my faith and pursue this not simply as a matter of law, but to threaten my very means of working, eating, and having a home. If you're serious about clarifying the law, then I urge you to drop your claims against my home, business, and other assets. This kind of thing is going on in our country today, yes.
Well, it's going to exponentially increase with this ruling.
It has that potential.
What would you say to state legislators and state legislatures around the country? Because there's, thank God that the state legislators are usually in the hands of pretty good people right now. Our federal Congress is lost, but there are some really good, godly Christian men and women.
There's some good people out in the legislatures, yeah.
So what
I
would
would tell the legislatures to look at the way the Constitution would address this problem. That's under Article 5. Article 5 says there's two ways to amend the Constitution. Amendment to the Constitution will overcome the President of the United States, the legislature of the United States, and the Supreme Court of the United States. If 2/3 of both houses of Congress, the Article 5 is very explicit, saying it can occur by 2/3 of both houses of Congress recommending to the states, which if approved by 3/4.
3/5, isn't it? Is it 3/5 or 3/4? I don't remember. I shouldn't contradict a sitting Supreme Court. That's right, I apologize.
3/4 thereof, then it will become a constitutional amendment. George Mason saw the other problem. What if Congress becomes corrupt and won't pass such a recommendation? Then it says, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid as to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states or by 3/4 in conventions thereof, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as one of the other mode of ratification.
So there could be a federal constitutional convention, and then states should have their own constitutional conventions, or the legislatures of those states could say yes, what they agreed to at the constitutional convention, to have a constitutional amendment that says marriage is between a man and a woman.
It's not a constitutional convention, and that's the first fallacy that many people make.
I thought it was called that.
No, it's not called that. Read Article 5. They call it that. They call it a constitutional convention. But that's not what the Constitution says was. That implies that they're going to change the Constitution. This is not what that Article 5 says. It says, and you can read it right here. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to the Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures, 2/3 of several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as one of the other mode of ratification may be approved by Congress.
Well, I agree with you, it doesn't say that. I think that they're just using it as shorthand.
Well, they're using a shorthand term that implies they're going to change the Constitution. But Article 5 says it shall be valid as to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution. So it's not changed the Constitution.
Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. One of the greatest joys and passions that I have had for almost my entire life is music. And one of the best times that I had was putting together some albums in Nashville of songs that I wrote. One of the albums is called Dark Sunglasses Day. This is a country album, a lot of love songs, some patriotic music. We've made it available to you online, and I hope that you'll go take a listen. You might be pleasantly surprised. You might even find yourself singing along.